So what happens when you take 30 of the world's biggest celebrities, trap them in a giant red circle, and say only one can leave with $1 million for their charity? Well, you get one of the most chaotic and entertaining competitions ever put on camera. This was an absolute masterclass in chaos by Mr. Beast, and we are going to break down this epic showdown.
Okay, so the premise? It's brutally simple. You've got 30 famous faces. I'm talking Kevin Hart, Paris Hilton, Diplo, the Bella Twins, all locked inside a circle. Seriously, they're just stuck there. The very last person standing wins $1 million for a cause they care about. But, to get there, they've got to survive some pretty ruthless challenges.
And that's exactly what we're doing for you right here. The original video is a whole hour of pure, unfiltered chaos, strategy, and some genuinely hilarious moments. So we're squeezing all of that down into one powerful 5-minute shot, giving you only the most intense, high-energy parts of this wild story.
Right, so how do you even start to whittle down a group of 30 A-listers all at once? Well, you throw them straight into a high-stakes test that punishes even the tiniest mistake. Let's dive into the very first game. The first game looks pretty straightforward, but it is absolutely savage. If a celebrity can throw a dodgeball through a hoop, their biggest fan gets a car. And we're talking a car lineup that includes a $250,000 Lamborghini. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. If you miss that hoop, your game is over. Instantly.
The pressure was on, and the eliminations started right away. Comedian Jay Pharoah, he steps up first, takes his shot, misses, and just like that, he's sent packing. Then Callum from 5 Seconds of Summer steps up. His shot literally rolls around the rim. It was so close, but it pops out. These guys were dropping fast.
As more and more celebrities missed, it really started to feel like maybe nobody was going to win a car. The tension was just building and building until Diplo stepped up to the line. With a perfect throw, he nails it. He wins his fan a car and proves it actually can be done. The crowd goes absolutely wild, and Diplo is safe to play another day.
So after that first brutal round of risk and reward, the field had been thinned. 26 celebrities were left standing, and believe me, the games were only going to get tougher from here.
With the group a little smaller, the next phase got real psychological. It wasn't about one simple skill anymore. Nope. Now the contestants had to make a really critical choice that would test their minds, their muscles, and for some, their morals.
So the remaining celebs were faced with this fascinating choice, and it really says a lot about how they see themselves. They had to pick a side, smart or strong. The smart game was this super tense memory puzzle for the strategists, and the strong game? A pure survivor-style endurance test for the physically dominant. So, which one would you pick?
Of course, when the stakes were this high, you're going to get some high-level strategy. Or, in this case, some pretty low-level strategy. In the smart game, Howie Mandel got caught red-handed. He had secretly filmed the entire block pattern on his phone, trying to get an edge.
And his justification for it? Oh, it was priceless. When they confronted him, Howie just deadpanned, "You know why I did it. For pediatric cancer." I mean, you can't really argue with that logic, can you? He somehow still managed to snag one of the 6 winning spots, at least for the moment.
Meanwhile, the strong game was just pure physical agony. You had celebs like Josh Peck and WWE Hall of Famers the Bella Twins just clinging to these poles for dear life. The first 6 people to touch the ground were out. It was a true battle of wills.
Okay, so the survivors from both the smart and the strong games were then regrouped and thrown right into a cooking competition. This is where teamwork was supposed to be essential, but let's just say sabotage was definitely on the menu.
And you got to check out this panel of judges. You have global icon Paris Hilton, Emmy-winning chef Giada De Laurentiis, and a self-appointed expert, Kevin Hart, who just decided he was qualified enough to judge right alongside them. What a legendary trio.
The results were, mixed, to say the least. Some teams, like the green team with their amazing fajitas, they scored incredibly high. But the bottom 2 teams, they crashed and burnt. The blue team served cold pasta after what they called an aggressive sneeze incident, and Howie Mandel's yellow team presented a chocolate pizza disaster they actually named the poo-poo platter. It earned them a score of 1. 1!
With just a few teams left, the competition entered its most psychologically brutal phase yet. This is the part of the game where alliances and maybe some friendships were just designed to end.
The setup here was just pure psychological torture. The remaining teams of 3 were locked inside a cube. Only one person from each team could move on to the finale,
And how they decided who survived? That was totally up to them. It was straight up Hunger Games. And the methods they came up with to decide were absolutely wild. Audrey Nuna secured her spot by winning a game of Twister. Steve-O advanced by just dominating a game of Rock'em Sock'em Robots. And Young Gravy? His fate was decided when a puppy ran to him instead of his competitor. I'm serious, you cannot make this stuff up.
So after all of that beautiful, beautiful chaos, we were finally down to the final 3. It was time for the finale, a super high-stakes game of pure luck, psychology, and of course, deception.
Now, before we see who won, it's really important to remember what they were all playing for. Steve-O was competing for Doctors Without Borders, Young Gravy for a group called Noise for Now, and Audrey Nuna for the Luminous Fund. $1 million was about to change a whole lot of lives.
The final challenge all came down to this one question. 3 identical briefcases. One of them holds $1 million. The other 2, empty. The finalists would each get to pick one, but naturally, there was a twist.
Audrey chose her case first, and she actually got to look inside. When the other guys tried to get a read on her, she delivered this incredible deadpan bluff, claiming she saw a pet rabbit inside. This one line just set the stage for a masterclass in mind games.
So it all came down to Steve-O. He had the final choice. He could either take the last briefcase left, or he could steal one from his opponents. He analyzed them both so closely, calling Audrey a stone-cold killer for her poker face, but he felt like Young Gravy was trying just a little too hard to hide something.
In the end, Steve-O just went with his gut. He announced he was stealing Audrey's briefcase, and when they opened them all up, his instinct was right. He had stolen the $1 million case, winning the entire competition for Doctors Without Borders in an absolutely stunning final move.
This whole competition was just this fascinating mix of physical strength, mind games, and straight-up deception. From Howie Mandel's cheating all the way to Steve-O's final steal, it all kind of leads to this one big question for us to think about. When $1 million for a good cause is on the line, where do you draw the line?